Hello, he came running in today. Hi, baby. Welcome on in, you guys. Welcome back to a brand new episode here on The Goo Review. So, I don't think we're going to do these like consecutively every Wednesday, except for when we are talking about like a franchise. There are franchises that I do want to like dive in and talk about, but they're not necessarily like the deepest, when it comes to maybe their artistic capabilities. I don't know. So I figured like just a little pop in here or there. It's not a deep dive. But we're still just going to talk about some great movies. And yeah, for today's video, we're going to be talking about Final Destination. And we're going to be diving on into the series. I thought you dropped this ball. And it will lead up, hopefully, by the time that we wrap this up every Wednesday, we will be able to do a review to the newest one, Final Destination Bloodlines, I believe. So I'm hoping by the time we wrap this up, the newest one will be out and we'll be able to add it on in. But I still want to get out the Texas Chainsaw deep dives and other movie reviews. So we're just going to throw this in Monday and Friday. We'll stay our consecutive upload days, and then Wednesdays will be like here and there, So diving on in, we're going to be looking at the very first Final Destination, which came out in the year 2000. Could you imagine if they waited one more year to make this movie? It wouldn't have gotten made. Would the series have even started if this movie was delayed by literally just about this much in the grand scheme of things? I know we talk about it a lot over here. It's talked about a lot in horror in general, the impact that 9/11 had on just movies in general, media, almost every single aspect of our lives, especially as Americans, was changed post 9/11. And this movie is an interesting, like, kind of little time capsule. And I'm thankful, I guess, that it came out when it did. Because if it didn't, then I think we probably wouldn't have this franchise. So, directed by James Wong, distributed by New Line Cinema, also the same production company that is pumping out most of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies that we'll be talking about from here on out. The budget was $23 million, and box office, it brought in over $112 million. So that's pretty good. That's pretty good. That's, I guess, your average ballpark for a successful horror movie in the early 2000s. They weren't making like billions. I believe it was the new It Chapter 1, that was the first horror movie to break $1 billion in the box office. And that's where we saw like this huge new kind of renaissance of horror coming back out. Remakes, yeah, but there's newer stuff in there too. Really is kind of thanks to the commercial success of it. And this was originally written for the X-Files. It was going to be like a episode just on the show, and the person that did the main writing for that, they ended up asking him to expand on it before the idea of the movie. So, hey, he's very playful today, huh, Bubbles? You want me to throw it? So, the quick little rundown. After getting a premonition about a plane crash on his school trip, Alex saves a few of his classmates. However, their situation gets complicated when death starts chasing them down. Now, I really love this movie, these movies in general. I'll specify the first three. Those are my faves. Just for the sense that they are exactly what you expect them to be. I don't think... Well, in the later ones, I think they try to get a little like, woo. But I really enjoy just how cut and dry it all is, and how it just like carries on. You don't need explanation for all the crazy things that happen in it. Like, you're there basically just to watch people die, but in like cool, creative ways, I guess, or really crazy ways. This does go into, we're not going to like dive into literature and all that, but like it does go into post 9/11, and there's a uptick in violence, and people want to see other people getting ripped apart and killed, essentially. That's why we see like the huge spike in torture porn and just like gore porn in general, as like subgenres within horror. Man on man violence and monstrosities really kind of took over the screen. This movie, like, it feeds into that, but it also removes the man on man violence aspect of it. That does come as the franchise kind of develops later on. So, starring Devon Sawa as Alex Browning, Ali Larter as Clear Rivers. Now, she was like an icon of the early 2000s, and now I just feel like I don't see her in much. Kerr Smith as Carter Horton. Kristen Cloak is Valerie Luton. Chad Donella is Todd Wagner. Sean William Scott is Billy Hitchcock. And Tony Todd plays Bloodworth. Now, I do love that, like, Tony Todd by this point, pretty big actor. I love his little cameos throughout, like, basically the entire franchise. He might not pop up a lot here or there, but just, like, you know who he is, you know, and I think his, like, kind of presence or legend of Candyman carries a little bit to this movie, and I think they're very aware that they're playing into that. It almost makes it a little, like, canonical, that, like, death, this concept, this legend of death is also Candyman, which is basically the same thing. I don't know. It makes the gears start turning. But yeah, that's the basic little rundown. And then we're going to dive into the synopsis. Now, trigger warning, I guess, or content warning. Content warning. I'm going to include as many of the scenes as I can, maybe not to their full extent, because there are some brutal ones. So, like I said, released in 2000, high school student Alex Browning boards Volare Airlines Flight 180, a Boeing 747, which kind of ironic with everything that's going on with Boeing now. To be fair, Boeing has always had shit going on. With his classmates for their senior trip to Paris from John F. Kennedy Airport.
That's a good sign. Younger the better. It'd be a fucked up guy to take down this plane.
As someone who grew up watching these movies, I've watched these my entire life. And as someone who has flown on a school trip, when I tell you this shit was in the back of my mind most of the flight. Like, back then, I was fine with flying. It still just made me extremely, extremely nervous. So I would just constantly be thinking about, like, terrible shit. I was like, Final Destination, lovely. But I think that's also kind of the power of these movies. They have ingrained themselves into our own kind of cultural trauma, we could say, that we think about these things. Like the log, I know we're getting ahead of ourselves, but the logs in the second one, you can't tell me you don't think about that scene when you're behind one of those trailers, right? Like, the impact that these movies actually do have, I think, is kind of incredible for, like, what they are. You know, they don't set out to be impactful in that way. But that's just what we get. And I do love that this is kind of like the early stages of like CGI really becoming heavy in movies. There's still a lot of practical effects being done in this, like the whole airplane fuselage, everything, even to the third one with the roller coaster. They had them like in fake roller coaster track sets, hanging upside down, filming for like hours, or being like thrown around the set. Like, there was so much more realism in it, I think, in the beginning, and I just love it for that. Before takeoff, Alex has a premonition that the plane will face a mechanical failure. Leading to a mid-air explosion, killing everybody on board. Very graphic. Very, very graphic. That's why I said, like, content warning. It's a very graphic movie. I mean, duh. It's kind of like in the same breath of, like, Terrifier. Like, that's what you're there for, though. I could maybe understand if people weren't expecting that walking into it, but I don't know. I don't know. By this point, slasher movies in general had kind of already fallen off. They weren't really being put out as much. And I feel like this kept the energy alive, but gave it in a much newer way so that maybe it wouldn't seem so pointed. Because I think the main argument with slashers, just in general as a genre, has always been how it focuses on like killing women and other minorities. I think we can do slashers in a creative and smart and more genuine way. But I do like that this is kind of like a placeholder while we figure out how to do that, you know? When the events from his vision begin to occur in reality, he panics until a fight breaks out between him and student Carter Horton.
Alex, qu'est-ce que c'est?
Because you didn't fucking plane can explode! Shut up, Brownie.
You're so not funny.
Resulting in both of them being removed from the plane, along with Alex's best friend Todd Wagner, Carter's girlfriend Terry Chaney, teacher Valerie Luton, and students Billy Hitchcock and Clear Rivers. None of them, except Clear, believe Alex.
Like, I don't know, I saw it on the runway, I saw it take off, I saw out my window, I saw the ground and
Until the plane explodes on takeoff.
you fucking prick! Oh shit!
Afterwards, the survivors are interrogated by two FBI agents who are both suspicious of Alex. 39 days later, after attending a memorial service for the victims, an unusual chain reaction causes Todd to accidentally hang himself in his shower. Very graphic scene. Really, like, and every time I see, like, I mainly only see those in, like, hotel rooms, I guess. Those, a little wire thing that you can hang across. Whenever I see one of those now, that's all I think about. These movies low-key traumatize you. Well, his death is ruled a suicide because his brother died on the flight, I believe. Alex sneaks into the funeral home along with Clear to examine Todd's corpse when mortician William Bloodworth reveals that the survivors who escaped from the impending circumstances have disrupted Death's plan and is now claiming the lives of those who were meant to die in the accident. Alex and Claire are discussing their next move when the rest of the survivors arrive outside a cafe where Terry is run over by a speeding bus.
Then you can just drop fucking dead.
There's a lot of very, like, quick and sudden deaths that, like, I don't know, it changes the pecking order really quickly sometimes, and, like, you can see maybe a little bit more that the characters who are still alive are more concerned now that they're up next than the fact that that person just died. I don't know, maybe that's a stretch, but I do think this movie does kind of get into, like, humans' maybe selfish tendencies, but it's always with, like, certain caricatures of people, so I guess, like, that's another thing about this movie. Everyone is a caricature. It's kind of corny, kind of cheesy, but, like, in such a good way. After watching a news report on the cause of the explosion, Alex concludes that Death is reclaiming the survivors in the order they would have died in the disaster. Nonetheless, he is too late to save Miss Luton, whose house explodes after a falling kitchen knife impales her. Again, crazy scene. You know, like, the little things to look out for, like a gust of wind or music playing. Like, there are things that symbolize this killer coming, and it just gets so creative because it's like you see how Death kind of, like, maneuvers around to catch up with these people. Alex also is getting, like, way more suspicious during all of this, acting very weird, getting seen at, like, locations where people are dying. So it's starting to look very, very suspicious.
Hey, buddy.
The The remaining survivors reunite while driving through town as Alex explains the situation. Still skeptical of Alex's theory, Carter stops his car at a train crossing to prove he is wrong. Alex, Claire, and Billy manage to escape an oncoming train that knocks a piece of shrapnel from the wreckage into the air, decapitating Billy.
You're dead! You're dead! And you're taking me with you!
Alex deduces that because he intervened in Carter's death, it skipped to the next person in the sequence. Now that all happened very quickly in this. It's a very sudden scene once again. Some deaths are super complicated and really drawn out, and then others it just seems like cannon fodder almost, like just boom, and they're done. While hiding in a fortified cabin the next day, he's so paranoid. Alex recalls never changing seats with two students to sit directly next to Todd and realizes that Claire is actually next. He rushes to her house to save her. Alex finds Claire trapped inside her car, surrounded by loose electrical cables that ignite a gasoline leak around her. He grabs the cable, allowing her to escape the car just before it explodes. And he gets electrocuted. The whole big thing. 6 months later, Alex travels to Paris with Claire and Carter to celebrate their survival. While discussing their ordeal, Alex reveals that death never skipped him after he saved Claire. Fearing their struggle is unfinished, Alex retreats when a bus collision hurls a parking sign towards a neon sign that begins falling towards him. Carter pushes Alex out of the way at the last second, but the sign swings back towards Carter and kills him.
So who's next?
Leaving Death's plan to resume action. So, yeah. Listen, in this movie, my favorite death, I don't know, that's hard. That's a hard one. Because I feel like we get such better ones later on. I don't know. I guess just the opening premonition scene is always going to be the best. And I love that it opens the movie off with a bang and it throws us just right into the story. I mean, it's usually within like the first 5 minutes that the premonition scene happens. I love that. Later on, they actually took time to really develop to it. And I found myself getting a little bored, I'm not gonna lie. But usually it's pretty quick that we get right into it. Like the first 5 or 10 minutes sometimes, 10 or 15. It's just one of those series that like really I could kind of rewatch it over and over. I don't know. It's just, especially the third one. There's something so comforting to me about the third one, even though I think that one's maybe the most effed up. But yeah, I want to know your thoughts, guys. What's your favorite kill in this movie? What's your favorite movie in the series in general? I guess if I had to pick, I guess the teacher. The teacher's was actually like really sad because she was really struggling after like the accident and everything. You definitely get a more emotional feeling for the characters in this. Later on, it's just like I said, everyone's just so dispensable. Like, but yeah, that's the series. That's the series for you. I would not recommend to go into it looking for any kind of super deep meaning, but it's good for what it gives us. But yeah, let me know your thoughts, guys. Like and subscribe, all that. I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of their day. Uncle be sleeping. He's tired. Thank you guys so much. I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.